Correct. Dear Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to serve. We thank you for the opportunity to have the resources that we have to serve the residents of Adams County and to serve all those that we are responsible for. We thank you for the blessing of safety, cooperation, and abundance in our abilities. Please bless us and guide us in this county. Please continue to bless and guide the leaders, not only in this county, but through the state and through the United States, and continue to grant us safety, cooperation, and continued service to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We're gonna start by looking at the minutes from the April 21st meeting. Anybody have any comments or thoughts on those?
I reviewed, nice, all no additions or corrections.
Unfortunately.
Stan, you okay with minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. That motion passes.
Stan, you get you get the wasted paper here.
All right.
Okay, our council tells me we need to suspend this meeting and move into a public hearing on the proposed parking lot ordinance.
Motion on that.
So we would need a motion on that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we are suspended and moving into a public hearing on ordinance number
2026-4.
2026-4.
Right, so generally, as it was previously described, this would be ordinance 2026-4. It's previously introduced 2 meetings ago. Short titled, an ordinance regulating parking on county-owned property. For instance, the permitted types of parking, there's obviously parking on county-owned lots by members of the public while actively engaged in conducting county business within an adjacent county building, county employees, elected officials, and appointed officials during their hours of work for the county, jurors who've been summoned in jury duty, or operators of authorized vehicle in the performance of official duties. Prohibited conduct under this would be to park a vehicle on a county-owned lot for the purpose of storage or long-term parking. Park a vehicle that is not an authorized vehicle for an extended period of time. Park an inoperable vehicle. Inoperable vehicle would be defined under Indiana code for a period longer than 24 hours unless actively engaged in arranging for immediate removal. Performing non-emergency maintenance, etc. And then enforcement provisions. It's generally just, the citation format, that they could be, any person in violation of the ordinance could be liable for civil citations and penalties, which.
Is there anything about removing the vehicle?
Yes, sorry, that would be, so that is actually its own section. Sorry, Sheriff. It would be towing, impoundment, and release procedures. Section A of that would be authorization to tow. An enforcement official is hereby authorized to cause any vehicle found in violation of this ordinance to be removed and towed from the county lot. That decision rests with the discretion of the enforcement officer based on the nature of the violation, the operational needs of the county. And then it goes through, obviously grounds for immediate towing. The authorization for an immediate towing of the vehicle is that it's parked in a manner that obstructs a fire lane, building entrance or exit or driving lane. Vehicles parked in an accessible space, which would be a handicapped accessible space without displaying the relevant placard. The vehicle presents an immediate hazard to public safety or property. The vehicle is reasonably believed to be stolen or evidence of a crime, and the vehicle is parked in an area designated as temporary or permanent no parking zone. Selection of towing provider. It can be any licensed and insured towing provider. impoundment and odor notification. Any vehicle towed pursuant to this ordinance shall be impounded at a secure facility operated by said tow provider. And that the enforcement official authorizing the tow shall notify the Adams County Sheriff's Department, which is itself, and then provide, attempt to provide notice to the owner, based on license plate information, if applicable.
So if it doesn't meet those criteria, then we don't tow it, we just make arrangements, but say we talk to the owner, do we give 24 hour notice, and if it's not corrected, then are we allowed to tow?
So the enumerated sections based on the ordinance were just simply grounds for immediate towing. Section A, the authorization to tow, again, goes that the decision to tow the vehicle rests within the discretion of the enforcement official. So,
So after 24 hours, they haven't rectified it, after we've made contact, then we still could.
sure, perhaps in a situation, you've given them a citation and said, hey, this needs to be moved within 48 hours, and they don't. I mean, again,
So do we give them 24 hours? Cause otherwise they could park there every day and then just move it at the end of the day.
well, again, I think that's a discretionary. I would say probably not 24 hours, given that.
Gotcha.
That's after the citation.
Yep.
So it'd be a citation first.
Right.
So there's a financial penalty for the citation.
Correct.
How much is that financial penalty?
$100.
And is it just our county deputies that issue citations on county property, or could that be city?
County only. The city officer cannot enforce county ordinances,
They
and I
can,
cannot enforce city ordinances.
So actually, I left the actual fee schedule. So civil penalties is under, penalties, fees, and civil revenues under section A. And so any violation of this provision of this ordinance shall constitute a civil infraction, subjecting the owner to a vehicle to a fine. The amount of fine shall be set, which is what we would set, during regular meeting here in adoption, to create a fee schedule, which would be then adopted officially by the Board of Commissioners. So really, it's up to you all as to if you do. I know from a citation standpoint and other enforcement ordinances, it's maybe certain amount, first violation, second violation, third, depending on how many citation you want to go, because obviously the more of those you want to go, it's probably more of an exhaustive remedy where you need to go through every step of the citations before towing, et cetera.
what would be a typical citation for park?
I'd say $50 first offense, and then escalates, usually it doubles for second and third violations. Normally.
Okay, so this is the public hearing part. So anybody interested to speak to this proposed ordinance, please come to the mic, state your name, and tell us what you're thinking. Going once, going twice. Okay. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing portion of this,
Do we need to adopt the ordinance?
not before we close the hearing.
It'll be during my time in the
Okay, I move
regular.
we close.
Second.
Public hearing is closed, ready to move on to our regular business.
I'll bring it back up.
Okay, so that'll come back then during the attorney's presentation. So we can move on to our normal, regular business. Tony, what have you got for us this morning?
We have Allied Weekly Health Insurance claims for medical. Those are in the amount of $36,246.97. 36,246.97.
Any problem, Stan?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Stan, seconded by Doug. The Allied Weekly claims are approved.
And then we have Northwind prescription insurance claims for the week, and those are in the amount of $2,457.86. $2,457.86. I did I'll verify the claimants as well.
Okay.
I move we accept the prescription claims from Northwind for the week of $2,457.86. Tony?
Second.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. That motion passes.
And then we have the Allied monthly health insurance claim, which is more of the administrative type side. And that is in the amount of $67,585.06. $67,585.06. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Stan, seconded by Doug. That motion is approved. We'll pay that claim.
Then we have the payroll AP claims, which are all of the benefits attached to the payroll. And that is in the amount of $358,326.91, $358,326.91.
Move we approve.
Second.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. Payroll AP claims are approved.
And then finally, you should have received via email the accounts payable claims. And those accounts payable claims are in the amount of $370,406.58, $370,406.58. And I believe that highway had a couple of big ones in there with equipment, truck, something, and stone. So it's that time of year when, those are the bigger ones.
There's one for a truck, 64,892.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger ones.
Bed, probably, I think it was W. Jones, maybe.
I didn't see anything I had questions on in there, so.
I didn't either. I move we pay the accounts payable claims as presented.
Second.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. AP claims are approved.
Or account payable, I think, maybe, are they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
accounts payable claims.
That is technically all I have, depending, Steve, when the chairman would like the two council on aging drafts that you
Right.
tabled.
Right.
Clayton has looked at those. Do you want to do that later? Do you want to do it under his time? When do you want to do that?
Oh, let's just, are you okay with doing that into your time?
That's fine. I mean, I'm just.
But you've reviewed them and
I'm
you're
just going to-
comfortable with them?
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend it.
Okay. Wait, let's go ahead and knock them out.
Okay. Okay, and there were, Steve, there's one form that you and I signed and the other one only I signed.
Okay.
The first one was the pass-through agreement with NDOT. Adams County acts as the pass-through agent for their
Their
grant.
grant. So this is the agreement that
That's the agreement.
we
that-
operate under.
Yes, and that's the agreement that Clayton reviewed.
Clayton's reviewed that and you're recommending approval? Clayton?
Correct.
Okay.
Need a
Thoughts,
motion in
guys?
that
We do
respect?
need a motion.
Okay, I'm not sure how we should word this motion.
Pass
Okay.
through agreement for rural public transportation.
I moved it, Stan, unless you have a comment to make
No,
on this.
I'm good, for sure.
I moved that we approve the pass-through agreement for rural public transportation.
Second.
Okay. That motion passes. I'll
Okay,
sign.
That's just your signature on
Yeah,
that?
just
Mine and Steve's. And then the other one that Clayton reviewed has to do with special labor warranty. That's a special warranty arrangement. And if you remember, Michelle is doing all of this to satisfy, when was that audit? Last year?
Yeah, I think it was last
I
year.
think it was last year regarding being a pass-through, we need to.
Yeah.
So this would be for the special labor warranty and only I have a spot for signing it.
Need a motion to that effect, right?
We do.
Yeah.
Stan, you wanna make that?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll
That's also
second.
NDOT, right, Tony?
Involving NDOT's grant that Council on
Same
Aging
thing.
has
Yeah, okay.
for the vehicles and so forth.
So that special warranty agreement passes as well.
Okay, very good. That's out of the way.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
Anything else for us, Tony?
That's it.
Okay. Moving on. Nate, come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nate.
Couple of different items here for you. Saved small structures for today, so we're gonna talk about those quite a bit here. So first thing I want to talk about is really the map that you have attached. That is the proposed schedule as far as the areas that our agreement with Jansen and Spond have done and what we're proposing to do under what is gonna be phase two. Phase two covers six of the 12 townships in the county, Preble and Root, French and Hartford, and then Wabash and Jefferson townships. The different years from 27, 28, 29 would be included in that. One of the additions that we have from phase one to, I'll move away from
Yeah, good deal.
on that little microphone here, a little echo. One of the additions that we're gonna have from our small structures from previous year, or years, is the addition of 5 pedestrian bridges. We have 5 pedestrian bridges that, to my knowledge, have not been inspected since they were constructed or reconstructed. That includes the South Adams Trail Bridge, the Covered Bridge, a pedestrian bridge near Hannah Nutman, over the, just west or south of Washington Street, connects the Woodridge subdivision to Hannah Nutman Park on the west side of Decatur. There's also the large Greenway Trail Bridge that sits over the St. Mary's River in Decatur. And then there is a pedestrian bridge behind Adams Memorial Hospital. All 5 of those are pedestrian bridges. They're subject to regular inspections, but they're not part of the federal program, and they're not being inspected by anybody. Out of I'll say an abundance of caution, but under your purview of health, welfare, and safety of the public, since we do bridge inspections, I felt that it was necessary to at least offer to do the inspections under the IQ Bridge Fund. If you're able to do that, I think that it makes good sense to do that. It is not an admission of ownership of all these bridges, because different entities have different involvements with each of these for their uses. This is for an inspection and reporting to parks departments, both city, county, South Adams Trail Organization, and then again to you as the commissioners, because some of these do have parcels that are under the county control. So I feel that it's in our best interest to add that to this inspection. Since there's no grant money eligible for both small structures, this is a good opportunity to do that. And it is not a full hands-on federal bridge inspection. That would involve lift trucks and tens of thousands of dollars versus what's being proposed currently. If you're in agreement with this scope and system and method, the proposal that I have from Jensen Spawn, their total is a not to exceed fee of $105,283.51 over that 3-year period of 27 through 29.
Did you mention the one on the River Greenway Trail?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So there's the 2 of these are, one's an original railroad bridge. Another one's a reconstructed railroad bridge. Certainly they were originally designed for significant loads. I don't anticipate finding any issues, but I'd rather find the issue before I get a call from EMA or dispatch or something about an issue coming up. This is just a way of making sure that if there is a problem, these sort of inspections find those, and then we can work with the other agencies that are involved in using those structures to find out how they want to resolve that.
As far as inspecting them, are we then responsible for the cost of inspecting them?
This is the cost of inspecting them. So, and
Even
so-
if we don't have ownership of the bridge?
Correct. So I felt that that was really the best interest in it. If we want to, so as part of this agreement, I'm not asking you to sign the proposal from Jensen Spawn because it's not in our standard format yet. I wanted to talk about the philosophy, the approach, why we're proposing to do it this way versus others. The actual cost of the pedestrian bridge inspections with travel is $11,324.30 out of this total.
Yeah.
So it's a little over 10% of the project overall inspections is just the pedestrian bridge. And part of the reason it's that low is because it's being added on to another contract. If this was standalone and each one was an individual inspection, it would be quite a bit more.
Well, and I think all the pedestrian bridges are probably owned by the Parks Department, I bet.
Now, they're either
Yeah.
city parks, county parks, and another one is, actually one of the 2 of these are kind of like combinations because of how the parcels are listed.
I wonder if it'd be good, once those pedestrian bridges are inspected, to get a report to the Parks Department, just so they know they're being inspected
Absolutely.
and if there's any issues, they would.
In fact, it's my intent to take the individual inspection reports and then present those at city parks board meetings and then at county parks board meetings and say, here's what we found. and do that really as a service rather than as a, oh, by the way, you have to deal with this. I didn't
Well-
want to come to them with a,
That way they got the reports, good, bad, or otherwise.
yep, and that is my intent, is that here's the information, here's the recommendation from myself and our consulting engineer, because they're not working with these consultants. They don't have the relationships, they're not gonna be able to negotiate those prices and the risk. It really kind of keeps the control in where I think the service of the county has the best opportunity to do that.
Very good.
So it'll save them money, obviously, because we're covering that cost, but it is not an admission of ownership of any of these. There's gonna have to be a discussion of that. If a major issue is found, it's gonna be very expensive, and I think there's gonna be some serious discussions between you as the commissioners and the parks boards at different levels in the city as well. So I don't wanna find anything. I'm actually hoping that we don't, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't look into it.
Nate, will this inspection be primarily structural, so we know if the bridge is gonna fall down or can bear the weight or the load or whatever? Or will it be from a perspective of this is a pedestrian bridge and we need to make it safe for pedestrians to walk across this thing, whether that be railing and stuff like that, or is it just structural?
It's gonna look at a little bit of both. Because the structures, for the most part, they're so overbuilt for the loads that they
Right.
have. A structural analysis isn't necessarily going to work the same way as what I'm gonna talk about for my next part of this, is we've got a small structure with emergency vehicles. You're not taking a fire truck across any one of these bridges. And you're not even taking a loaded pickup truck across these. These aren't subject to maybe a gator for an emergency access might use those. That might be the heaviest load you've got. Really, we're gonna be looking at minimal pedestrian. We're gonna look at wear and weathering of certain areas, preventative maintenance that can be done, and looking at pedestrian safety to make sure that if there's missing planks and a timber deck on this, that you've got fall risks or guardrail that's
Good deal.
damaged. So it's to try to cover the purpose and need specifically those types of structures. If there's a structural issue, it's gonna jump off the page at all of us.
Good.
So that's what we want to make sure we do. And I want to have a third party document it so that all of us have record that this was being done, besides finding out about an accident and saying, well, who looked at it? Nobody. We can actually point to specifically the powers that be having that sort of response and report. So if that makes good sense, then what I plan on doing, I don't necessarily need a vote, but if you're good with it, then I'm gonna take this back to them and work with Clayton to write up an actual formal
Good.
agreement. And then I can present that agreement and we'll just reference back to today's meeting.
Good.
This was.
Sounds prudent.
So, okay, well, good. No, didn't want to surprise anybody with extra inspections, so that's the intent there. So thank you. Second part is these load ratings obviously come up now and then. During the inspection, what I'm gonna say it's a small structure, C258, that carries 550 north between 400 east and State Road 101. And just on the east side, east of Decatur. It's been one that I've been watching for a while to address. I don't have the right of way, which is probably the biggest kind of sticking point for me. But during the inspection that was done in 2025, comparing it to the 2017 photos, you can see in the picture below, there is a fascia wall that was poured against the original field rock foundation. That should have been in contact. That whole area that's got the little red arrows, those were poured against each other and it has walked its way off and is now blocking access to the field rock for any repairs. It should have been doweled or pinned into it so it wouldn't move away, but it's really not serving its purpose at this point. So I asked JSE to do a load rating and inventory of this. Look at the structure, look at the condition, and give me a load rating and how bad is this as a structure for condition. Based on their draft report, they are recommending a weight restriction be posted for conventional vehicle weights of 32 tons for gross vehicle weight. There is also a separate emergency vehicle category that's established, and that's set on the weak axle configurations of emergency vehicles. So I've sent this actually over to Jeff Sheets at the Decatur Fire Department already, so he's aware of it. He's the only one with the vehicles, and maybe the other volunteer fire departments would as well, but he is going to be the one that needs to contact and coordinate with them. And that covers everything from 16 tons on a single axle, 28 tons for a tandem axle, and then 38 tons for their gross vehicle weight. So it just changes the configurations.
How much does a school bus weigh?
They are at 15 tons. So if once we get under 15 tons, so this, thankfully, this does not affect school buses. And the school buses would fall under that 32 ton limit. It doesn't affect the vast majority of the travelers. It's not gonna affect public, but you're gonna see new signs show up out there and I'm gonna get questions as to why.
Or a big farm tractor?
Farm equipments, the farm tractors themselves, there's really nothing in the load rating it sets up depending on those. The tractors themselves aren't necessarily the problem. It's the grain wagons and the semis full of grain. So if you're harvesting out there and you're over 40 tons and you know it, you need to go around it. The notice itself is for informational purposes. It's so that the public knows the conditions these bridges are able to sustain regular traffic. If something happens and you're the one taking an oversized load compared to what this is rated for, you could be held liable and you as commissioners could take legal action against those taking those loads over it. Don't want that situation. It's certainly my intent, as I noted, the earliest replacement that I can do for this is right now, 2028. I'm working with Clayton to try to get the necessary right of way so that we can replace the structure with a four-sided box and eliminate the guardrail, and that would make everybody happier when that's finally put in place. Unfortunately, the time frame, my money for 27 is already committed to two other currently load rated structures like this. This one is one that I want to try to get addressed as soon as I can. So it is certainly my next highest priority for 2028. So
How many structures, if we add this one to the list, how many structures in Adams County do we have with a weight?
a posting like this,
Yeah.
this will make three. And two of those three, I already have the right of way and the sizing established, so they are proposed to be replaced in next year.
Okay,
So this will be the only one, hopefully in 2028. Unfortunately, I need to work with the property owners to try to get this replaced, and for everybody else that's adjacent or uses this roadway, I need to make sure that they're aware of it. So.
so,
that's
but
the-
you have no, if in fact this fall with harvest, if a semi goes across it, you're not overly concerned that it's gonna break down with 80,000.
No, this isn't, when it comes to these load ratings, I think a lot of people get concerned. It's like, you've got this limit and immediately everything breaks. No, you've got this certain limit that is estimated based on certain factors of safety for repeated regular use. And so this structure is gonna be fine with that 32 tons, 38 tons, depending on the actual configuration, repeated regular use. That's what that's estimated at. It would certainly take more than that, but there is no guarantee that when you start to exceed that weight limit, that you're not doing incremental damage to the structure, which will then shorten its life. So if someone were running concrete trucks beyond that weight, hundreds of them for a turkey barn or something beyond that route and using that roadway, that repeated regular use in excess of that could exacerbate the issue that we don't necessarily see and could cause a problem. I don't want that. I don't think anybody does, but part of my role in this is to make sure that we provide the information that we have. So, and if anybody's curious about more information about this, other photos we have or some historic photos, certainly call my office, let me know, and I'd be happy to sit down with anybody that's curious about it. But again, that's
Do
what
you
I
need
have.
anything from us on that, or is that
Nope,
still on your
that
authority?
is, based on my statutory authority, I can establish those.
Good
So
deal.
this is just an informational report. I don't have to
Appreciate
have a
that.
commissioner, but I don't necessarily want to load post things without you being informed.
Appreciate that.
Because you're gonna get the phone calls when I just start going rogue like that. So again, thank you.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Nate. Brad, come on up.
Morning, Brad.
Good morning, gentlemen. I have one permit today, and honestly, that's about it. It is for Jay County RMC, North Salem Road between 250 North and 350 North. And all they want to do there is change where the electric location goes into the house, and that's it. So basically gonna be out in the right of way and just.
Move we approve.
Okay. Approved.
And other than that, 700 South 000 are done. It has been paint striped. That is taken care of. We are out still patching potholes. Imagine that. But kind of business as usual. We're getting equipment ready to mow. That time is coming. Getting the equipment ready for chip seal, normal preparations.
Got
How
any
many-
road closures today for flood?
No, not yet. No.
How many miles of chip and seal do you intend to do this
We're
summer?
gonna try and do 110.
Is that above normal? That's above normal.
Yeah, last year we were about 106, which is up from normal, but we're trying to get ahead on some issues.
Are you using
Some roads
Levens
need it.
on those?
Yes, correct. Yep. Other than that, that's about all I got to report.
Very good.
Thank you,
Anything else,
Brad.
Brad? Thanks, Brad. Rick? Bringing reinforcements, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is Simmons.
I'm gonna give you some updates and then I have a new preventative maintenance agreement that I would like to present to you. And that'll be from the Dillon Group. It's for our chillers. So I'll just start with that. There's some on the back. So this is for our chillers that we have here at the complex. The old one expires here, I believe, May 31st. I have budgeted for this in case you wanted to go forward and do it again this year. That dollar amount is the same as last year. And that gets paid in 3 installments.
And this is the company that installed those chillers, is that
That's
correct?
correct. Yeah,
Did you feel like we got our money's worth out of the maintenance agreement last year?
I do. I do. They found a bearing in one that they did and
Where are you located?
here in the complex.
I know, but
In the
in the
basement.
basement.
And then the condensers are up on the
Okay,
roof.
on the roof. I was gonna say 60 ton on the roof. Scares me.
Yeah, we have 260-ton in the
All
basement.
right. Jeez, I'd like to remove those things.
Logan's.
So, okay, so you're asking us to approve the,
Maintenance agreement.
for the Dillon Group on the chillers.
That's correct.
I see no reason we should not proceed. Needs done. I move that we approve these 6557.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan, the Dillon Group, maintenance agreement's approved.
Just Steve's signature on that.
Yes.
Need more than one?
Rick, is any of this maintenance, and I know we want to do it anyway, necessary to comply with warranty issues? I mean, I would think certainly that it would help if we did have any more issues,
Yeah,
that we could show regular maintenance.
right. It does.
Rick, once you get the invoice for this, you know where to put it in your claim to send to Glenda, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give her a heads up that it'll be coming.
The next thing. There's an air handler up in the sewer district office. That's where it's located. And it operates Mark Wynn's office too. There was a bearing going out of it. I really didn't realize this, but we do have a couple different type of air handlers in here. This one's a Magic Chef. I can't just buy the bearing. So I gotta buy the whole shaft, squirrel cage, fan, which is probably gonna be easier to install. But it's a little over $1,500. So I wanted you aware of that.
I thought it was gonna be 15,000 when you start
Yeah.
talking there. 1,500's
So
not so shocking.
anyway,
Are you guys able to do it, or you gotta have somebody come in?
Don Myers is gonna come do it. We're gonna
Okay.
assist them. So as soon as that comes in, we'll get that taken care of.
Good.
And over at the courthouse, one of our heat pumps has a leak in it, and we're gonna try to fix that tomorrow.
We still getting pretty good response from Don Myers since it's under new management. Maybe not as good as it was, but.
I would say not as, that's a way to put it. We were spoiled. Because Judd, which was one of the owners, I mean, he could just climb out from underneath the desk and from under the desk and come over.
Yeah.
We don't have that exact response like we did, but they've been good.
You know, one thing I can mention, I found out Jeff Sprunger used to have his own plumbing business at the Burn area.
Yeah.
I guess he's back in business to do work if, I mean, I don't think it's big jobs. I think it's, but if you run into something that is a smaller plumbing job and you need emergency or quick service, you might keep him on your list to call. I just found out about that last night.
I think there are two Jeffs present that used to do that.
Yeah, the Jeff Sprunger married.
Is this
well,
Jay's boy or Jay's brother, or is this Toby's brother?
Toby's.
Okay, so Jeff Sprunger. Okay.
I wanted to, I believe there's someone, they've hired someone new at the parks now. I don't know the lady's name.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Director. She came
Gerber,
in.
Kara Gerber.
I've gotten a call from the parks, and not from her, it was from Chris Kroll. I just want to know where you guys want me to go with this. It's probably been over a year. It's when Jeremy Gilbert was here. There's a water fountain in the gymnasium. There's two. There's one in the weight room and there's one in the lobby. And it's a water fountain that the drain is plugged on it. We tried jetting it. We could not get through it. I asked Jeremy at the time, what do you want to do? He said, the only other thing I know to do is put a lift station in it and pump it somewhere else. And at that time, he didn't want to spend the money. The water works, just if they overflow, if they fill up a water jug and the water overflows, it's obviously going to run over because it doesn't drain. I'm thinking because now that maybe there may nothing be going on in the gymnasium, they would like to have that fixed. To what extent do you want me to go with that? Do you want me to help try to,
Well,
maybe they'll pay for
it almost seems like what, now any repairs that we make to this building, we would almost have to look at long-term repairs. So
Right.
I guess that's the way I would look at it, is what's gonna be the best
Okay.
long-term for the situation they have.
So it would be the only place to replenish a water bottle, is that?
No, there is two. There's one, you have to go down into the weight room. In other words, down where the weights are,
Okay.
there is a water fountain down there.
Okay.
Or you would have to come in the service complex and get on the second floor to get water.
Yeah, we probably need to have a place where we can do that at.
I mean, the water does work. It's just,
The drains.
you can get a drink like a regular water fountain, or you can fill up the jug, a water bottle.
Right.
But if they run it over, you got a mess.
it feels to me like we need to resolve that drain problem.
I don't know what's going on with it. I mean, I've had it, I think we jetted it twice and just couldn't get through it for some reason.
Wow. Sounds serious.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it's a pipe that's clogged. One time I got coffee grounds out of it. You know how hard packed they get,
Yeah.
so. I mean, just, anyway. I believe that's all I got, except, I guess, myself and Sheriff.
At the courthouse, we got all the quotes in to use the bottom floor for prisoner transport. There's a old door that needs replaced. It's an oversized door. It's like two doors together. The quote is on the last page that I gave you a packet of. That's closing that in to make it a standard steel door, steel frame door. That's a 4250. And then the other two quotes, the one right on top of that is to put that on the fob system into the network, where we don't have keys. We have fob that gives you access to get in and out of that door, especially for the transport officers. And then for his people too, we don't have that master key floating around that gains access. And that's the 443406. And then the hallway door from inside the basement is the top quote to fob that door also. So again, we don't have keys. My transport officers won't have keys. They'll just have the fob that they already have. And Bob can program who needs access to that. If a fob's lost, we can shut it off, and that's not an issue. So those three items, estimates, will get us using that. And if that does come to fruition, we will start using that for permanent transport of prisoners in there. So we're not taking prisoners up the stairs, through the main hall to the elevator up. We'll just go in ground level, through the boiler room, down the hallway to the stairs or to the elevator, then up the court. So it's a much safer way, and less interference and less contact with our citizens, when we're dealing with prisoners. So I'm asking that these be approved and then we pay for them out of the human courts.
So this is two separate doors? I mean, the one on the outside.
The
of
one's getting replaced, the other door is just getting wired up, to the network fob system.
Gotcha.
Sheriff, as you know, one of the options that we're considering for the Justice Center is to utilize the historic courthouse, which is what we're talking about here, remodel it, move Superior Court into the first floor, keep Circuit Court on the second floor. That probably will involve some type of, I know there's a discussion of a sally port and how prisoners would be brought into there. Obviously, that's a ways down the road, but it may not be a long ways down the road. That would be one of the first things we would probably start on, as we would want to probably would wait until after construction of the new
yeah.
building. So I guess maybe if this solution is only going to be used for, pick a number, 2 years, would you still recommend doing it? Or if we're going to throw it away after 2 years, what would you say?
Or a question also is, how long have we been doing it the way we're doing it?
Well, we've been doing it forever and
Right.
it's not the proper way of doing it.
I understand, but to Steve's point,
So let's say it's 2 years. So if we break that down, this is about $500 a month investment for that. And I would still recommend we do that because honestly, the exterior door is not to par to begin with. Even if we didn't want to use it to take the prisoners in, that door needs replaced no matter what.
What if we waited just
Do we
maybe
know
a few weeks
till the
we
middle
get-
of May or
till
something.
we begin to develop a plan?
Yeah, do we know and answer what we're doing?
Yeah.
And then once we look at the plan, we can say, yeah, those doors are still gonna be there after remodel, whatever, let's do it, or no, they're gonna be gone, but they can be reused somewhere else, or we reuse again, or if we just kick the can down the road a little
I
bit.
see that, and then my question to you would be, okay, then in that plan, once it comes to truth, is the other building gonna be built first before that? Cause then if that
Probably.
drags it out to 4 years, then I still say we need to do
Yeah,
this.
I don't think we're looking at 4 years, but it wouldn't surprise me if we're looking at 2. And I think your assessment, $500 a month is,
Yeah.
that's a good way to look at it. If we
Well,
just
and
throw it away at the end.
Well, and the hardware itself, they call them, what do they call them? The readers, the proximity readers, so we could reuse those on other doors. So
Yeah.
some of the hardware we could do, but the exterior door, again, that needs done no matter what. So if nothing else, I still say we move forward with that and we can hold off on adding to the network issues.
Which one's, which?
The very last page. That is
48, 42, 50.
correct. And I don't know if Rick
I
has
wouldn't have
that
any
in
problem
his
going on
budget,
with the
but if
door.
not,
That feels like a maintenance issue. Would you agree with that, Rick?
Yeah,
That's a
do you
maintenance
have-
It needs
issue.
to be.
do you have that in your budget or do we still need to do that out of Hume courts?
Well, you were paid out of Cuba.
If you did it out of
Correct.
June, we'd have to get an
But-
additional
but-
from council.
I understand that.
I could pay that.
Out of your
Okay,
maintenance
out
now?
of your-
Okay. So I guess we'll hold off on adding the fob systems, but we still move forward on replacement of that door that he can handle through his
I
normal.
would
budget.
have-
That door, we've been hearing that door is bad for years, and
Correct.
especially when the clerk moved new election equipment down there and stuff
Yep.
like
I
that.
wouldn't have any problem moving that. trash.
Sounds like a plan to me.
So we'll hold off and then once,
But we need a motion on
determination.
just to door it in today?
Nope, he's got that in his budget. So,
Well, yeah, if you want me to replace it.
And
Yeah.
you can make that decision then.
so
Good.
we'll hold off on the fob system until the plan's made on final
Okay.
decision of the judicial.
Good
side.
conversation, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Megan's here, please.
Oh, Megan, come on up. Even better.
And she's got a stack of papers. Oh, just one, okay.
That's under them.
I was instructed to bring a second one.
Yeah, let's do that.
That's nice.
We've got a new toy.
Yeah, we've played
Okay,
with it a few times.
is this on the, what the plan commission had the other night? Yeah.
No, this is not the rezone. This is a subdivision.
Okay, oh, you're replacing Mark this one.
Right, yep.
But you got that other thing on the agenda too, right?
Usually,
It's
the
on
law-
today.
usually the lawyers present that.
Clayton has it.
Clayton has it, okay. Okay, what is this one? Plans.
All right.
Where's it located?
So this is on 450 north and 200 west. And it's a little bit of a special deal going on. You can see the original parcel comes all the way up. There's a portion here. Right now, they're working with Mark Burry's office to get this, used to be a railroad, to get that transferred into their name. And they're gonna make that a subdivision up north. So we're kind of in the middle of a big process right now.
How many acres we talking here altogether?
That looks like it would be an 80 altogether. Yep, it's 3 lots.
Well, they're over here some.
So this is an
1.2.
existing, a 19 and a 3, and right now they're building a new house
So
down
this
here.
is a lane?
Correct. Yep.
Wow, it's a
And-
long lane.
You can see that's actually an existing parcel. They're just
Okay.
including it into the subdivision.
Well, your design committee went through this, I'm sure.
Correct, yep. And it's been signed off, just, I haven't had Mark sign it yet, but, both Joe from the health department and Mike Surveyor.
So are they doing it as a major subdivision?
Clayton Mark just
Because
bought
it's multiple parcels, each parcel can have a subdivision.
Okay.
So, like even this here already has 2 parcels, cause that's a parcel right now. And that's a second parcel, so right now they're doing 2 parcels into 1 subdivision. And then they're going to get this transferred into their name, it's a vacated railroad,
So this right here is this right here.
correct?
Gotcha.
So we're missing
Is it
this,
Amish or
English.
English?
Pam Lingrick.
Okay.
So
Well, I
there's gonna
don't
be
think
another
we
one
have
that's up
any
here.
reason not to approve it.
It's just big.
500. So this will be the subdivision,
Yeah, it's gonna come down,
500,
cause,
right west of Richards.
yep. So this is the old clay factory area.
Mhm.
So there's gonna be
Beyond the
a,
old Grey Goose.
right, So there's gonna be another subdivision coming later that's on the west side, or the east side and going north.
Move we approve.
Okay, second.
Motion passes.
Lions and Tigers Cove. Interesting.
I was waiting for it in Bears, oh my. Made me wonder if they're Detroit sports fans. Oh.
Well, Indiana is getting the Bears, aren't they?
Are you doing this?
Sure.
They'll both get that. I
Thanks,
got
Megan.
the,
Do you want me to stick around for that?
If you want to, yeah, it shouldn't take long. Yeah, so then I'd be presenting, ordinance number 2026-6, which is short titled an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of Adams County, State of Indiana, which rezones the property at 6,091 North, 500 West, Decatur, County of Adams, State of Indiana. The ordinance would be rezoning the relevant property from its current zoning of agricultural to I-1 light industrial. The applicant and the property owner did go before the plan commission, and the plan commission did come back with a recommendation of do pass. And I do know the property owner is here if you have any questions you had.
what's the ordinance number?
26-6.
Can you tell us what the use is gonna be or give me any details on?
Fabrication,
Okay, I'm sorry, what?
fabrication.
Okay, fab shop.
Yeah, we had a lengthy discussion at Plan Commission meeting and it was unanimously a positive recommendation. I abstained from that vote, but I knew it would come here. So I moved it, unless there's further discussion or questions.
What's the address?
6091 North, 500 West.
It's off of 224. It's the first place going north on the east side.
And it's a rezone from current ag to light industrial I-1.
What's the acreage? Acreage isn't large right now,
1
1 acre.
It's on the sewer district.
Yeah. So, I moved that we approve ordinance 26-6.
I'll second that.
Motion passes. That's approved.
These are the exhibits, but there's some.
Thanks, Megan.
6091 West 220.
And that was,
All of us?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to sign that one also, Tony, there's two of them. That was actually, prior to the rezoning, that, there was a subdivision plat that split that into 2 lots. And that was approved through, plan commission and then commissioners. So it's actually lot 1 in that subdivision is what's being rezoned.
There's a copy
Just
down
two.
here that we're signing
There's 2,
right now.
we got 2 original.
I just need to attest that when Stan's done signing.
There's copy number 2 of that, guys.
So,
I'll take a copy upstairs. Megan will want one, you want one.
Send one to Brooke, sign one to Brooke.
Yeah. I'll get one to Brooke and to Megan.
Okay, are we all done with plan commission? If so, Rachel? I said 11 o'clock. It's, not too bad for my timing.
No, thank you very much for having me this morning. Can you hear me okay?
We can, if I could just do a quick intro here. Rachel Cardis is with American Structure Point. And back, well over a year ago, probably a year and a half ago now, 2 years ago, we started with steering committee, many of who are out here today. I appreciate them coming. We started with a steering committee, talking about, a vision plan, a vision for Adams County. And we first tried to answer the question of, do we even need a vision plan? What's a vision plan? What all does it entail? And we kind of wrestled all those questions to the ground. Ultimately decided that we really, it would be beneficial to have, to create a vision for Adams County, a future vision for Adams County. And so we listened to how other counties had done it. It's not new to county governments to work through a vision plan, 20 or 30-year vision for the county. So that's, and then we started looking for a partner that could help us do that. And we interviewed, I believe we interviewed 5. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have my notes in front of me. I believe we interviewed 5 applicants to be a partner to help us craft this vision plan. Ultimately, we chose American Structure Point. Rachel Cardis was assigned as our project manager. And so we've been working with Rachel and her team now for well over a year and a half. Is that correct, Rachel? Feels like longer than that, but a year and a half or so.
Yeah, that's about right.
And we've gone through many steering committee meetings. We've gone through public presentations. We've gone through public information gathering sessions. Rachel and her team sat at 4-H Fair and Swiss Days and various concerts in Decatur, just gathering public input. We did a survey, and we received, I know it was over 500, 600 or 700 responses to that survey. And so what you're seeing today, and this is a presentation to the commissioners, what you're seeing today is the proposal from the steering committee. We would ultimately like you to consider this to be adopted by the commissioners as a vision plan for Adams County. One would ask you to do that today because I know it's a lot of information, but Rachel's kind of going to walk us through that plan. I've got hard copies for each of you, just to kind of follow along. But Rachel, what am I missing? Other than a huge debt of gratitude to the steering committee for all of their hours. Those of you that are out here, thank you. We had several that were here last week. And Rachel was a little bit under the weather and we needed to postpone last week.
Thank you, Steve.
But here we are and we've got a vision for Adams County that we'd like to talk about. So Rachel, if you wouldn't mind, take it from there.
Thank you, Steve. I want to just say it's been a great experience. It's been about 14 months or more, almost a year and a half of getting to know Adams County. And you guys have a unique, wonderful community. And it's really been a pleasure to be able to work with you guys over the past year and a half. And I'm kind of proud to be able to show you this and showcase this and bring it to fruition. So I thought I would go over, you do have hard copies and you can dive into each page and let us know kind of your thoughts and your comments. But I'd like to just give you an overview of how we came to be, what the process was, what were some of the key findings. As Steve said, we did lots of engagement with community stakeholder interviews. We did public engagement. We were at Swiss Days. We were at Adams County Fair, Decatur Concert Series. So we did a lot of getting out with the public in the process and kind of bringing some of those sentiments back on what the public wanted to see for the future vision of Adams County. With that, I'll just go ahead and kind of get started. Make sure, can you guys see the presentation there okay?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, just want to be sure. I can kind of see it in the back of the room changing, so that's good. So over the course of the year, we did 3 phases. Phase 1 was educate. Phase 2 was explore, and phase 3 was empower, kind of where we are now. Under phase number 1, we really got to know you at a data level. We did a kind of a due diligence on what your economic conditions are, what the retail climate is, what you're looking at as far as parks and placemaking. And we took all the existing plans from the county, from Bern and from Monroe, from Geneva and all the communities. And we collectively just made a very good baseline of data to work off of to help the steering committee understand what are the current trends with population? What are the projections for the future? What are the housing trends that are affecting your community now? How are we going to look at getting attainable housing in the future? So the first phase was really to get to understand the steering committee, to hold interviews, to do public input, and also collect that data to present to the steering committee as well. Then we moved on to phase 2, and we really kind of rolled up our sleeves and we started brainstorming. Steering committee members, I give them a lot of credit. They stuck with us and did lots of visioning sessions where we were able to kind of bounce ideas off of each other from what came back from the public input and put those into goals and recommendations. And where Structure Point kind of differentiates from other firms is we make sure we don't just leave you with a plan with things that sound good, like that's a great goal. How are we going to achieve it? How are you going to fund it? We leave you with a playbook to say, hey, here's are the steps that you need to achieve this. Here's the funding sources. Here's where you go after this is done. And I think one of the key things that came out of phase 2 here is that we have a Adams County Vision Plan Task Force. So after this, the plan won't just sit on a shelf. There'll be a task force and everybody's going to kind of understand, okay, these are year 1 initiatives. These are midterm initiatives. These are long-term missions. So that's what we kind of looked at and brainstormed in phase 2. Phase 3 is what I'm going to show you today, getting towards adoption and recommendation to implement into the county. So the key components of the vision plan as you go through today, we focused on economic development, cultural and livability, transportation and infrastructure, housing, education and health services, the Amish community, which was a big focus and lots of conversations around that and lots of focus on that as well. Youth engagement and retention. So these are our 7 key components that will have themes, that will have recommendations, that will have strategies as you go through the vision plan. Under the public engagement summary, I wanted to highlight, and I won't go through each one of these in heavy detail. If you want to really review that, you can get through the plan. But I wanted to bring to you what's on the mind of your residents, whether we were in Monroe, Geneva, at the county fair, what kind of came back to us, not only in public surveys and open houses. It was preserving the rural character, making sure that the agricultural heritage and legacy remained intact, balance for economic growth. They wanted to see small business thrive, but also have the ability to have larger employment economic base, larger manufacturing facilities, larger employment opportunities for the residents, either from commuting in or leaving to go out to Allen County to Fort Wayne. They felt like we needed to look at balanced economic growth. Infrastructure and connectivity, we spent a great deal of time with the county highway department and really understood kind of what the issues are that are unique and germane to Adams County. So you'll see that further down the presentation, but we really heard that back from, not only the county highway director, but we heard from residents saying, we need to improve our roads this way, or, we have these Amish impacts, or we have to look at how can we look at this towards the future to make sure that our county is well connected. And a lot of the infrastructure and connectivity didn't just deal with cars on the road. It was, whether it was Amish buggies, whether it was being able to do bikes and trail systems, and really growing your park system in Adams County and kind of getting the ball rolling that way. Is just people really were seeking out different recreational amenities. Quality of life was a big key component that came back. What would make, young people that move back to the area, what amenities will be here in the future? Housing diversity, that was the big one. There's a lot of, it's not unique to Adams County, but just the housing diversity and being able to afford entry level or kind of that missing middle, and understanding the frustrations and some of what's going on with the housing market from people that want to live in Adams County or feel they have to kind of, shell in and stay where they are just because of the kind of the trends in the housing market. Agricultural and environmental sustainability. This was a big one as well, just protecting your heritage, but growing strategically. Community identity and pride. This was very big. I want to say, in all my years of doing this, I've never seen 3 high schools that have so much individual pride. And I think that's great. I think that makes a very, very healthy rivalry and a very prideful community. It just really shows you guys really give a lot to your schools, and you really take a lot of pride in your activities, your sports, your academics. So that was something that kind of came through with the public engagement as well. So kind of that's an overview of all the surveys, the conversations, all the events that we had. And so when we brought this back to the steering committee, it's how do you harmonize all the public input from the survey? How do you harmonize everything that comes out of the steering committee? How do you harmonize everything that comes back with these stakeholder interviews and put it into an action plan? So you start with a lot of ideas and you brainstorm. So the ones that I'm going to cover today, I just want to say that they've been thoroughly vetted by the steering committee before we brought them before you, before we put them in the plan. And it was really a prioritization exercise. So before we picked the following critical path strategies, we said which ones really float to the top, which one are critical to the future of Adams County, and which ones do you want to see come to fruition. So with that said, I'll segue into the first one. The first one is the transportation strategy. The critical path strategy that I referred to before, it shows you exactly the action steps that you need to achieve to get a capital improvement plan and program in your community, what the estimated cost is, the time frame, and we work with the county highway director very closely to understand what the needs and the unique needs of the road systems are within Adams County. So this was one of the prioritization exercise. This one floated to the top. So one of the key strategies is to develop a capital improvement plan and program. Under housing, we spent a lot of time understanding, what the development market is. We worked with the private builders in the community. We talked to property owners. We understood from the sentiment of, not just second and third generation, of where the housing market is now and the need for housing. We did our own demographic and trends and looked at what kind of housing stock you will need for the future. And, with all that conversation and all that input, the steering committee really felt to be able to incentivize housing growth, whether that's looking at your zoning regulations, to look at mixed density, to maybe allowing more density or a variety of housing types. They did not kind of key it under any one principle. They just wanted to make sure that we're looking at our ordinance standards, we're looking at our housing strategy, that you're looking at, the future of Adams County, to be able to open up the variety of housing that can be allowed and make sure that you're planning for the future to have housing in strategic locations, whether that's around Decatur, whether that was around Bern, whether that was around Monroe, or throughout the rural residential areas. We're going to look at housing throughout that, kind of following up on the housing task force. The next was the Amish community. We had a great process. We were able to discuss some of the key issues, not just, from the residents as well as the Amish representatives. We had bishops that attended one of our steering committee meetings. I was able to get out and meet a couple of the bishops on a couple of occasions to really understand what they would like to see for the future of Adams County and what are some of the key issues they're facing. And kind of as a result of all that communication and opening up about the issues and kind of talking about pros and cons on each side, it was decided through the task force to involve an Amish representative to, be named at a subsequent date, but to have them on the Adams County Vision Task Force and be able to bring issues, whether it's schools, whether it's hospital, education, whether it's, one was a very big one, was public transportation, availability to employment opportunities, not just for the younger generation, but for the senior population. So I think there's going to be a lot of discourse in the future, but I really like the channel that was opened up during this process and kind of a real kind of firm understanding of some of the things that the Amish would like to see from Adams County in the future and vice versa. And so I think that's a great starting point that this plan has done. Economic development. I want to thank Colton Bickle for all of his input and all of the time he has spent. He has been our liaison as well as Commissioner Bailey on this project. And so working with Steve to understand the dynamics right now with economic development in Adams County. One of the key initiatives was to come up with an inventory of all the business community to understand available properties, to kind of start that public-private partnership discussions with property owners, not with just key downtown economic areas, but with small to medium-sized employers and different parcels that may be amenable to having open development and those discussions in the future. So just looking at how to diversify the employment, diversify the building type, but also too, it lended really into what kind of amenities and entertainment and attractions outside of business and having employment in Adams County can we look to kind of grow different business strategies from an entertainment and a placemaking perspective. And so this plan does a really great job of that. And this is just one of those initiatives. Small business growth. As I said, we talked a lot about downtown economic development. You guys have a host of wonderful festivals and community events that you hold. You really cherish your downtowns. We really just want to kind of continue, looking at succession planning, how to grow a small business, how to retain them. Colton does a fantastic job. This is really just to bring all the communities and not that they operate on a silo basis now, but it's really just to kind of build that network between all the downtowns throughout Adams County and see where they can kind of build on partnerships and help networking events, help kind of, support each other through the business channels and bring them together. So that's what this initiative is all about. Youth engagement. This was a great discussion that we had throughout the process. We really wanted to understand right now, what is there to do for young people in Adams County? Where do they hang out? What would be some desired amenities, whether it's placemaking and things to do downtown, or understanding, sustainability for your future? Are you going to, in 5 years, have the same amenities that you had for the youth today? And so kind of looking at youth retention, it wasn't just for coming back and having a job and affordable housing, but the amenities to be able to say, if we live in this community and we travel to Fort Wayne for entertainment, or we go to restaurants here, it really took a deep dive to kind of look at and say, how are we going to look at the future for, not just our high school graduates, but the generations that follow? How are you going to sustain your population outside of employment and outside of housing? And what can we do to kind of drive the impetus to be able to say, we're going to create great parks, we're going to create great trails, we're going to have a sense of place and a sense of community that way. So that's, step by step, and, it doesn't happen in a day, and, it'll take getting this task force going. But like, I think the vision is there to basically say, here's what we would like, and we're going to kind of take it step by step. So that was a great part of that initiative as well. Well, Steve, I'll turn it back to you to open up for any questions or anything you'd like me to cover throughout. Happy to answer anything that anyone would want to ask.
Good. Thanks, Rachel. Start with, I know it's a lot. Let's start with the commissioners. You guys, thoughts, anything you heard? We're not going to ask you to adopt this today, but ultimately would like you to consider, like us to consider, adopting this plan or some version of this plan as our vision for the future. So any questions or thoughts from you guys? Then we'll open it up to the public.
I have a couple. Stan,
No, go ahead, you're fine.
this is first I saw it, so I just briefly gleaned through it. I think the statistics on the Amish population is significantly lower than what the vision plan has. I think it mentioned 11,000. I would say that the Amish population in this county is much closer to, I'll just throw a figure out that I think is fairly accurate, 18,000 at least. And my second, I guess your question is, we're not going to, I don't see a problem in the future of what was your language that you said to adopt it?
Adopt this as a vision.
As a vision plan. I I don't see any problem in the future as adopting this. I guess I would like to know a little bit, I guess without giving this a lot of thought and a lot of study, my first impression is that this is kind of a roadmap for
Very,
Adams
very
County.
aspirational. It's not,
It's kind, yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of a roadmap. It is not the Adams County Comprehensive Plan Use Ordinance
The
that we
land-
have.
land use
Land use ordinance.
Yep.
And I think this roadmap would be of assistance to the Plan Commission members as they consider possible changes to the ordinances on land use.
I think that's what we had in mind, was drafting something that, reflected the, aspirations of Adams County residents, what they see, for the future and what they hope for the future of Adams County. And then as we begin to think about the, comprehensive land use plan and other ordinances and things that factor into that, how those things work together and complement each other.
Yeah, because, you know, having sat on the Plan Commission for many years and currently on it, when discussion comes up about things such as, I'll just throw a couple examples, such as wind turbines, or discussions come up with, things such as solar farms, you know, then as that discussion evolves, we go back to the Adams County Comprehensive Land Use Plan and say, what's this general? I could see this as a supporting document as the Plan Commission investigates major decisions.
I agree.
So it's kind of like, I guess my interpretation would be, it's kind of like a roadmap.
Yeah. Stan, thoughts? First
Uh,
thoughts?
I guess I'd like to spend some more time with
Sure.
it.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's been approached very thoughtfully starting with public input, with the steering committee input, and with the assistance of American Structure Point. And so, you know, it's been very thoughtfully developed. So I'd like to spend some time with it.
Good.
But yeah.
Yeah, I know the steering committee spent just hours and hours and hours in this room and outside of this room talking about, first talking about the mechanics of how we would gather a vision. You know, when you think of a county of 35,000 residents, and how do you collaborate or collectively gather their thoughts and put that into some kind of a vision for the future. You know, how we sampled those thoughts and gathered those thoughts and then tried to assess and analyze those with the steering committee and with Rachel's help, trying to understand what was being said and what that vision was. It just took quite a bit of time and so you know, those are.
I think it was very well done. You know, I'm assuming there was probably grant money available to help put this
Well,
together.
we actually used some of the ARPA funds.
Okay,
So it was,
Okay.
we used some ARPA funds to help put it together.
well, one thing I would mention, along with the Adams County land use plan, is those kind of documents, including this, when you have a different set of leaders, you have a different set of elected officials, you know, none of us are gonna be here forever. I've seen these kind of things. Someone says, well, you have a comprehensive land use plan, or now we're talking about a vision plan. And sometimes new leaders that come in say, well, where are they? So you drag them out of a cabinet and shake the dust off of them. And so I would like to see not only this, but in the Plan Commission on the comprehensive plan, I would like to see some type of a review or some type of a system. And I think that was mentioned somewhere in her presentation, that it's revisited
There,
on a periodic basis.
and Rachel, help me if I'm wrong here, but I think it's our intention for each one of those major categories to basically have a team or a group that works to kind of flesh out those areas of focus and continue to build out specific action items and help us to bring this vision to reality, near term and long term. So I think that's kind of where we're at. Is that correct, Rachel?
Yeah, it's dead on when you guys say it's a playbook, and so it can be tweaked, but the Adams County Vision Task Force, each one of those initiatives that come out of the plan has what we call responsible party, or I call them kind of the community champion that's going to get the baton passed to them to spear off, what that initiative is, and they're going to be able to use their staff or whoever they assign to that actual initiative, and you guys are going to meet however frequently is necessary to say, okay, where are we on this initiative? How are we progressing? How much funding, to basically look at it as what's our collective needs to keep the needle moving in all these areas. So yes, yep, it's very much treated like a playbook. And
I would hope that as commissioners, we have an expectation that periodically, whether that's annually or maybe twice a year or whatever, that we would get an update from those responsible parties. Where are you at on this? What are you thinking? What's your team thinking? What have you done? What are you trying to do?
Yeah,
And how
well,
can we help?
I agree, Steve, but who are these responsible parties?
Yeah,
What department in
For-
county organization does this fall under?
yeah, I hear you. And that, obviously it's ours. We're going to adopt it. So I think it is ours, but a very natural, responsible party for the economic development piece, very natural for economic development to try kind of drive that piece. But when we think about health and welfare, I know a part of that group was Dr. Smith, from the hospital. So there'll be a kind of a mini task force that I don't know whether we've actually identified who each one of those folks are and who's going to be on that mini task force. But there'll be a mini task force associated with each one of these primary objectives. And I would expect that they would come and report periodically to the commissioners how they're doing and what's going on. So I don't know that we've got to that level yet.
I just don't want to, I don't want to see this laying in a cabinet somewhere.
That was my
and
fear
draw
from the
dust.
beginning. That was my fear from the beginning is that we not just have this aspirational vision that sits on a shelf and nobody even remembers 5 years from now. And we're trying to paint a vision for the next 20 years. And 5 years from now, it's dust. So we don't want that.
I'll throw in a little comment too. I know being part of those committees, it's not just necessarily finding some appointed person or a salaried position that says it's your job to then go implement the vision plan, Steve. I think that there's opportunities within that of different service organizations and other volunteer groups. What this helps you do is it gives the county, here's the things that we've heard we want to see. And there's service groups and clubs and groups that are volunteering time and they're looking for opportunities to participate in this. It allows you to try to work within that vision as well and say, here's how we want to try to partner with different areas. So,
One of the areas of focus that we had was that kind of that Amish community. And my hope is that an outshoot of this discussion is some kind of an ongoing dialogue with a representative portion of the Amish community between the Amish and Adams County government. And we begin to talk about things like transportation struggles and other issues that are prevalent that we just kind of, as of today, we're just kind of accepting. But how do we begin to be proactively planful in approaching those challenges and opportunities? So again, I think it's still, I don't know that we have all the answers at this point. But what we tried to do is over the last couple of years, just at least identify the major questions and the major challenges, and then put together some objectives with some strategies that we can begin to attack those.
I think
those opportunities.
I'm not being critical. I think Rachel,
no.
you did a great job. Steve, your leadership in this was very good. I think we've got a nice, very well-organized document. But I think where the rubber's gonna hit the road, where the rubber's actually gonna hit the road is during plan commission meetings. When we have some major discussions on land use in the county. And then we go back to, as a plan commission members are trying to make a recommendation to the commissioners, like we had this morning, okay, on Mr. Howe's request, okay. I think where rubber's gonna hit the road is when we can say, when the plan commission is discussing what is the overall comprehensive land use plan in Adams County currently. And if we're talking about changing an ordinance, then we could refer to this document. This could be an added document along with the comprehensive plan.
I think probably that's a great example of how this document might influence those discussions. We heard pretty loud and clear that the agricultural culture, the rural culture and the agriculture culture of our community is very important to the residents that we heard from. And so when we think about from a plan commission perspective and maybe a comprehensive land use perspective, when we think about those aspects that may detract from that agricultural or rural culture that we value, you may be able to go back to this document and say, now, wait a minute, I remember in the vision plan, when we crafted this vision for the future, it really held that in high importance that we not detract from that rural culture that we have. So I think you're exactly right. We don't have the details in here of how that lives out, but I think we have that aspiration that says we like that aspect of life in Adams County. Don't mess that up. So I think that's what, and again, you know, it's one thing for me to sit here, for the three of us to sit here, to be quite honest with you, and say, yeah, that's our vision. But you know, every one of the three of us won't be here someday. And whose vision is that going to be then? But what we tried to do as best we could was create a vision of the residents of Adams County. We didn't get 35,000 visions and try to put that into a vision, but we sampled thousands of people and tried to put that into this vision.
Yeah, and here's a good example. On page 87, it says, how important is it for Adams County to preserve its rural and agricultural land? And the survey said 53.7% thought it was extremely important. And then it went to 27, very important. So I think that is a good indicator.
So a total of 80% felt that it was extremely or very important that we preserve that.
And I think the plan commission should take that into consideration during discussion.
And I think those are, you know, when you think about we have a parks board and a parks plan and we have a hospital board and we have all these different entities that do forward planning and forward thinking. I think this is something that can help them.
Yeah.
I hope.
And so it carries one step further. And I'm not being critical at all. I think this is well done. But you can always take it one step further and say, okay, let's look beyond the plan commission on making decisions. And that would be when we get requests for subdivisions out in the county and things of that type. You know, this could be not a game changer, but a consideration. Yeah, I think it's done well.
Stan, other thoughts before we pass it out to the public?
I think we have to take a real hard look at what our administrative responsibilities are as commissioners. You know, we are here as a county government. The county government has core responsibilities, but we also have peripheral responsibilities to support and facilitate quality of life issues. You know, like 4-H is a big one, the extension board. We've always supported that. Things like that. So, you know, back to Nate's point, you know, you've got other boards and people that that would have a specific interest in specific parts of
Right.
this to promote things. So, you know, as far as the Parks Board, I think it would force us to take a good hard look at the cooperative efforts we do with the city and, you know, to provide better county parks and.
Right, I
But a
agree.
big part of it is housing too.
Yeah.
You know, for years we've said, oh, we need more housing, we need more housing, we need more housing. Well, we can facilitate that, but as far as county government, we can't build the first house. So, you know, we have to be able and prepared to facilitate some of the things in here, even though as county government, we're not gonna go out there and build 100 houses, but we can facilitate plans and zoning to help those people that are building houses. So
Sure.
we have to kind of really look at what our responsibility as commissioners in county government is
Mhm.
to facilitate this plan. So, you know, and to look at the organizations that may be willing to participate in some of these goals. So.
Thoughts from the public? You all are here, or many of you here are just specifically for this topic. What do you think? Anybody? Come on up, state your name, please, and
Good morning, Wiley, sir.
hi, Wiley.
And this is a little more granular than where you're at right now, but you talked about need for public transportation. And it really is and I'm not really telling you anything new. It is a need across the whole county. I recently learned of one example of how it could very much benefit some individuals that are working to improve themselves, their future. And that would be at the Merit Center, at the Literacy Alliance classroom, where young adults, well, not adults, are working to complete their GED.
Yeah.
And there are cases where they can't get there. And it's even to the point where they've had to give up on completing their GED because of no transportation. So I just wanted to share that one little piece there. A little more granular than
Yeah.
where we're at right now,
But I think your point, the point that I would take out of that, Wiley, is there are many things that I don't see as commissioner. When Michelle Linger came to us and said, we need public transportation and we need to work on this, this effort throughout the county, to be quite honest with you, my response was, really? I didn't know that. So I think until you look at, take a project like this and survey as many people as you can and try to solicit that vision and build that vision from as many people as you can possibly work with, we miss many things. I miss many things. One of those would have been public transportation. Now, Michelle has done a great job with kind of trying to build that out and offer that. And I would hope that that somebody who's pursuing a GED in Adams County can get to class
Right.
now.
See,
But that wouldn't have been the case
right.
2 or 3 years ago.
The difficulty right now is these are evening classes. And so,
So obviously that's another gap we need to address.
yeah,
So
yeah.
point well
I
taken.
think if I could speak to that, I mean, when Michelle came to us, she facilitated this whole plan and attempted to go through Wells County and that was not agreed on. So because of the plan she put together for the 5311 transportation plan, she expanded it from health and medical needs to a full public transportation. And that was a huge, I mean, we are light years ahead of where we were.
Yes.
And then for the county to facilitate that, we purchased the property, built a building for all the vehicles, and facilitated an office for her. And I think we have made huge strides in public transportation.
Absolutely.
We have.
So the last thing that I would be critical on is moving public transportation ahead, because I think we have done, you know, we've allotted money not only out of the commissioner's budget, which I think this year was 44,000 for operation, but also out of the local, the lit taxes to facilitate.
Sure. Yeah,
And-
yeah, and I'm not
and-
disagreeing that we are light years ahead of where we had been. But again, this is another little component, but yet it's a major component for those that it's impacted.
But
Yeah.
that public transportation came out of this study as one of those areas of focus that we need to work on. Now, and I don't think any of this, steering committee members, you guys chime in here. I don't think any of this was meant to be critical of where we're at today. It's meant to be visionary of how we can even be better in the future. So we are light years ahead of where we were 2 or 3 years ago in public transportation. Are we where we need to be yet? Probably not. So we can do better. So I think this is all just,
And I would,
this is not really intended to be critical at all of what's happened in the past. It's meant to be more visionary of where we can be in the future.
right.
Exactly.
And I would do
I'll-
anything-
Just a general statement too. I
Yeah.
commend you,
Right.
gentlemen, for this vision plan. And I agree, it's an excellent roadmap to work through the future.
Yeah, as far as public transportation, you know, your example was a great one, Wiley. You know, this young or middle-aged adult that's trying to get his diploma, if we can identify that person and provide that transportation day or evening, I think it's critical. Likewise, in the southern part of county, if someone needs some medical attention, a doctor's appointment, and they don't have a way to get there, you know, sometimes we just assume we've been blessed. We have a way to get there.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget the people that weren't blessed or as fortunate as us. I would go out of my way to make that happen. However, no matter what service you provide, you can be taken advantage of if you're not careful. And one of the items that kind of, I had a little bit of a uneasy feeling was, you know, visitation. You know, do you stretch out your transportation to go pick up someone down in the southern part of county to visit someone else? So you always got to be cognizant of being taken advantage of. I will serve the people that need it, but I'm always got an eye on. This is stretching it a little bit. So
Sure, but speak to it, I mean, both you and I, we kind of come from education.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we very much
get
understand
it,
the
yeah.
importance
We get
of
it.
And,
that.
and obviously education was another aspect that came out very, very high in this vision as far as being important to the future of Adams County.
And this classroom serves Adams County. They average probably 10 to 15 students at a time. And they've got, it's a revolving door because they're working to graduate. So, because there's more waiting to come in.
You bet. You bet.
But
Thanks, Wiley.
Thank you very
okay,
much.
thanks, Wiley.
Other thoughts from anybody? Kelly, I know this is something that you've watched. I know you weren't necessarily part of the steering committee, but we've talked a lot about where this is at, where it's going and how the library functions. And I've told you about my aha moment with the Amish community and how in the conversation out there in that hallway, we talked about how important the library system is to the Amish community. And that was another blind spot of mine. So going through this process for me for the last couple of years has really opened my eyes to a lot of blind spots that I had of vision of Adams County residents that wasn't Steve Bailey's vision. And that's the reason that I really felt it was important that we go down this path and take the time and engage an organization like Rachel's organization to find a vision that was something more than just one or two or a half dozen people's thoughts. Any thoughts, Kelly?
I haven't seen this.
I know, we're gonna get, Rachel, I know that this is available online. I'm gonna make sure that we get everybody the opportunity to look at this online, even though this is still in draft form until the commissioners feel comfortable adopting it. This is still a draft, but we're gonna point you toward the website where you can actually look at this, at what we're talking about today.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
while ago.
Yeah.
Because that was the most recent one that I.
Sure.
So I look forward.
Rachel, thoughts, or where can we find this at?
What is that?
Yeah, I will post up on the screen the project website so everybody could take it down. Happy, if I'll put my email on there as well if you have any questions, but I'll put the project website up.
What is that?
Can you read it off, Rachel? It's pretty small here in the room, and my eyes are old.
Just 1 second.
Sure.
It'll be on the county website at some point.
It is. There's a button on the county website for the vision plan.
It is there.
And if you click there, it'll take you to the website that Rachel's gonna give us.
Okay, it's okay. What is it? Get up there.
I think you're on mute, Rachel, if you're talking to us. If you're not, that's
Oh,
okay.
no, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna unshare my screen this way and then pull up your vision plan and then make
Okay.
sure I have a website for everybody. Just 1 second.
Now he knows that.
Yep.
Let me forget to leave that you guys signing this stuff.
Okay. Well, Rachel's working on that. Aaron Selking was one of our steering committee members from the beginning. We kind of added steering committee members and as we went along, but I think Aaron was along for the whole ride. Thoughts on the process? How comfortable were you with it? What did you think?
The whole reason why I wanted to stay involved with it was I just felt like there was a disconnect between the cities and the county when it comes to housing. That I think that with this county sewer project, I think it's a great thing. It cleans things up. My concern is leapfrogging on residential. I think the city and the county need to work better on buffer zones that circle the city of Decatur. Where the city actually wants to grow and the county work with.
And I think that as we talked about the whole housing challenge, as we talked about through the vision plan, I think that better collaboration and cooperation between the city and the county and kind of an expectation of where the natural and most appropriate housing growth is. I just think we have to do better at that.
Then if you tack on your concern, Aaron, which is well taken. If you go from the middle part of the county southward, the housing situation is also an issue, but a little bit different.
Quite a different challenge.
And that's where I think instead of doing the setback, and I've had this conversation with planning commission, but I think they should have limited it to 20 acres on a subdivision in rural Adams County versus a setback. What you're seeing is they're taking a 20-acre farm, and now it's getting turned into a subdivision. And you have more of an issue there than what you do.
Well, we did address that somewhat several years ago when we put an ordinance of how many times you could split a parcel. It slowed it up some.
Well, obviously, we've got some work to do there, but those are things that I think part of the vision is that we get our arms around that. The actual execution of how to do that is not in this book. So we have to figure that out. But the vision is that we do figure it out.
I do think Nate's right, that it helps the city of Decatur, it helps the people that are, different, all the different things that they're able to have a roadmap themselves. What the county actually wants.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
And we can assume we know what the vision is for Adams County, but until you begin to ask the residents what their vision is, I think it's all just an assumption. Rachel,
Yeah, I found it. It's www.advancingadamscounty.com. I'm more than happy. I'll send a link to all three commissioners. And if there's anywhere else you would like us to disperse that, we're happy to have our communications department put in a newspaper or, make sure we get the word out that the draft is available. But the draft is available on that website.
AdvancingAdamsCounty.com, all one word. Yep, www.advancingadamscounty.com.
Yes, sir. Yep.
If it's up for public consumption right now, can we have copies of the library?
Physical copies. I guess I'd rather hold off on that until the commissioners actually, I mean, you can print it off, obviously, but it's still in draft form rather than hand them to you today. And I only have 2. So it's not like I have a ton up here that I can hand out. Would you mind waiting until we actually have an opportunity to adopt it as final?
Well, if you're asking the public that they can view it, I suppose. Are you? I mean, Rachel just said that.
As soon as
Yeah,
we adopt it,
it's-
there'll be more copies, won't there, Steve?
Well, as soon as they, obviously we can't make, we don't intend to make hundreds and hundreds of copies, but Kelly's only asking for a few. So we should be able to.
Yeah,
do that.
I mean, we could put a big watermark across it that says draft for open for public comment to make everybody feel more comfortable too. We could send some hard copies that way.
If you go to that website, the whole plan that we've got in book form is on the website.
Yeah.
The entire thing, so.
Other thoughts, Mike? You were along for most of the ride. Micah, you were along for most of the ride. Anybody else thoughts on where we're at? Micah?
I guess I would like a little bit more clarification when it comes to the comprehensive land use plan and this vision plan. I mean, you guys have discussed both plans in tandem here today, but when an item comes before Plan Commission, which document is going to be the foundation document for them to make a decision? Is that still?
Their legal document is the comprehensive land use plan.
That's the ordinance.
That's their
that we go
legal document.
by. Right.
And we really didn't address that. I think the Plan Commission is trying to review that comprehensive land use plan over time, but we really didn't touch that document with this work.
I appreciate the clarification because that was my assumption, but I'm not sure that the public has ever heard it put that.
Sure.
So thank you for that. And I guess I'm encouraged to see that agriculture is a priority in the vision plan from the public. That's very encouraging. So thank you guys for doing that.
Sure. You know, I think if I'm sitting on the Plan Commission, and I sat on the Plan Commission for years, I don't today. Doug is our representative on the Plan Commission. But if I'm sitting in there and I have a proposal that comes before me that speaks to solar or wind or some of these other things that has a potential of disrupting that agricultural and rural community, I think you can go back to this and say, I don't think that's what our residents are looking for.
I guess one other thing that I saw that the plan was posted on the website, and I briefly paged through it this morning. I'm probably a little bit disappointed that there isn't more emphasis put on manufacturing jobs and industrial jobs, industrial growth in Adams County.
Sure.
We talk about housing shortages.
I
But I
think-
would like those residents to work in Adams County instead of commuting out of Adams.
Sure. I think that's probably included in that whole economic development piece. Probably not maybe fleshed out as much as you would like to have seen it, but I would think that's probably a part of that economic development piece of our vision.
Thanks.
I think it'd be great too, along with manufacturing, if we could get more tech jobs here.
Anybody else? We don't want to belabor this too much. Obviously, this is, and guys, we actually have a proposed ordinance that Clayton has looked at or Mark has looked at, one or the other. But I'd prefer not to consider that today until you all have time to look at it.
And that was the ordinance.
It's in relation to the vision.
It's a really division. You haven't seen the ordinance yet, but
Gotcha.
ultimately, my desire is that we as commissioners consider adopting this as our vision, including adopting an ordinance that states that this is our vision
I
plan.
see.
But obviously, you're not prepared to do that
Well,
today. and I'm not
you could
even
put it
gonna
on a
ask you.
timeline, in a couple of weeks, we
Yep.
can address it.
If that's okay, we'll look at that in a couple of weeks. Anybody else? Rachel, parting thoughts here?
Sorry, getting off mute there. No, I just want to say it's, like I said, it's been a great experience. You guys have a wonderful community. We've really had a great time, getting to know each one of the communities and going to Swiss Days and Monroe and County Fair. So it's been a great process. And like I said, we're all open to comments and tweaks, and we understand that, it might take a further reiteration and on certain parts. So happy to hear that and work on it. So.
Very good. If nothing else, we've got a couple more things on the agenda. Rachel, you're free to hang in there with us, but I wouldn't mind you. I wouldn't, hold it against you if you ducked off
Okay.
into something else.
Okay. All right. No problem. Great to meet everybody today, and everybody have a great Tuesday. Thank you.
Okay. The ordinance 2026-6 that we signed, I guess had a slight change to it, so we need to re-sign those
Change was
documents.
sent right after you signed it.
Okay. Great discussion. Again, this is something that I've been working on and we've been working on for a couple of years. So glad to see it come to some kind of a, not a close, but at least a path forward that we can begin to share. So.
Thank you, Steve, for all the time and effort you put into that.
It's been really a great learning experience for me. Okay, a Justice Center update is next on the agenda. I'm not sure we have a lot to share there today, but I know we continue to look at that option that we discussed a couple of weeks ago. Potential of moving Superior Court into the first floor of the historic courthouse. We look then we have 4 or 5 departments then that would be looking for a new home, including the clerk and prosecutor who would be displaced out of the courthouse. So we're looking at right now, we're working with Elevatus to give us some numbers and design concepts on an annex that would be built across 3rd Street. I know there's maybe a little bit of confusion as to where we're envisioning that. At this point, probably is going to go in the parking lot that we have there now. So we would need to find some new parking, or the city would help us find some new parking for that. But that's all kind of in discussion right now, and I don't know that we have a lot to share on that. But
I know you've been working real closely with department heads to refine that.
I have.
I appreciate that.
They have been, that's also been a great collaborative effort. The judges came to the table and said, hey, we can do with maybe less than what we were initially thinking. And so we're having conversations with all of our department heads along that vein of, I know this is what you asked for, but what do you really need? And we're going to have those conversations here over the next week or so, and then come back with a design that's hopefully meets all of our needs, but yet fits into the budget that council set for us. Okay.
Did we ever sign this agreement then, or do we need to?
We don't need to. I gave them, we can talk about this. We really didn't sign that because we only give them a go ahead on part of that.
Okay.
County Attorney, Mark Clayton, what have you guys got for us today?
I know next week we're gonna have a discussion about fringe area jurisdiction, so I think that it really goes kind of hand in hand with
what we've been talking about.
these
Absolutely.
discussions, so.
Yeah.
Another reminder maybe that next week's meeting is on Wednesday rather than Tuesday because of the election.
Right.
Just as a reminder.
Okay, thanks, Tony.
Clayton, what have you got for us?
So we did just have we suspended earlier, we had a public hearing on what will be ordinance number 2026-4, an ordinance regulating parking on county-owned property. So if there's no further discussion amongst you all as commissioners, it would be available for you to move to adopt the same.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion passes.
And I will, given that it has enforcement provisions, I'll make sure that our office gets publishment to the auditor because it will need published. Specifically, the enforcement provisions will need published and then it'll be effective 10 days thereafter. And then to shorten the meeting today, it's already come pretty long. I would just ask that it be put on the agenda for next week for me to present the petition for vacation of a public way in relation to the portion of west 1100 south, the roadway and bridge near Red Gold. I have that petition prepared, so I would just request.
Can you send Angie and myself an email stating how you want that listed on the agenda, and we'll make sure to get that on.
Yep, I'll do that right now.
Anything else from you guys?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Hey, can I ask you a quick question? And I know I could look it up, but on the abatement agreements that you've done out at west of town, what's the final date on that?
The final date as in
To have it cleaned up?
all of them except one individual that came to the table a bit later. I believe that individual has until October 15th. The
Okay.
remainder of them is July 15th.
Okay, thank you.
And I know multiple of them, as the abatement agreement reads, they need to actually sign like a satisfaction or notice that they've satisfied or believe that they're in compliance. Both my office and the sheriff's department is in possession of that form for them to come sign. That will then trigger the sheriff's deputy in charge of that enforcement to go out and double check, and we'll start kind of dealing with that if there's issues with whether or not they're compliant.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
deal.
Thank you.
Shannon, what have you got for us this morning?
Anything today, but thank you.
Okay. Doug, Stan, what else have you got for the good of the cause this
I'm
morning?
good.
We really had just a couple minor things. The Community Mental Health Centers has appointed an additional Adams County rep, and that's Ian Gilbert. So he'll be
Oh,
sitting
good.
on that board
Good deal.
along with myself from Adams County.
That's great.
The only other thing, which is a wish in one hand and whatever in the other, but I've still got some interest in looking at the Golden Meadows stuff.
Good.
So if that's all right, I'll continue to keep the keys and pursue that
Yeah,
as the interest is there.
Obviously, we don't have a plan for that facility yet, so if you can come up with somebody who could put it to good use, I think that's probably
I had a meeting last
Yeah,
week
that's
with
fine.
Rob
I'll
Parker.
sign, yeah.
good. Good deal.
See.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Anything from the public?
Move
Okay.
adjourn.
Okay. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you coming. Appreciate your interest.